Gearbox just had a Borderlands 4 focused panel at PAX, and they elaborated on what we saw on the first deep dive, as well as answering many fan questions. So let's jump into what they had to say. They talked about Kairos, the new planet we're going to be on for BL4, and how it is the largest planet / map they've ever worked on. It will also be entirely seamless with no loading screens. If you play co-op, you'll be able to walk miles, as Randy put it, away from each other because they will not bind players together through a tether system, meaning there is no limit to how far away you guys can be. There will also be instantaneous fast travel to your friends if you want, and you can regroup with them. I imagine this will be very handy for blitzing through future playthroughs to get to endgame faster if you do that in co-op. We did address this during the first deep dive, but there will be dynamic weather, and a few concerns arose about weather being used as a potential modifier in some way that could affect damage or something. That is not the case. Weather is confirmed to be purely visual, but with that being said, it can obscure vision during a storm or something. Nothing that will directly affect combat though. There will be dynamic events that range from world bosses to random NPC quest givers that happen throughout the maps as well. These can be done indefinitely and are a source of good loot, allegedly. On top of that, the first deep dive teased actual vault hunting as a world-based objective you could complete, and people were wondering if that was unique to just the map they were showcasing. Randy confirmed that there will be multiple vaults throughout the game that you can open, but didn't want to get into specifics. I really liked the concept they explained during the first deep dive about completing map prerequisites to get into these things, and really hope they culminate into a big, genuinely engaging fight that rewards you with a ton of loot. They did also talk about cars. We covered that in the first deep dive. They will be able to be spawned on you at any time when exploring these open worlds. They didn't really elaborate on how far that extends, probably not inside buildings, I'd imagine, and they did say that you are going to be able to get different parts for them throughout the game and build your own cars, just like in BL3. Minimap not being present during the first deep dive was a source of a bit of controversy amongst the community. They did respond to that during this panel by saying that minimap will not be present in the game period, and compass will be the way to go. Some people like this, some people don't. I personally could go either way, it doesn't really matter all that much to me. I thought the explanation as to why was sufficient enough, explaining that with a more linear map-to-map experience, like in most of their games, minimaps afforded a lot of close quarters information to the player that was valuable. But with the world being much larger in scope and landmarks / secrets being exponentially farther away, a compass, as well as added navigation from Echo 4, helps to keep track of multiple waypoints and to also keep verticality from causing confusion in the way a minimap would. Randy also followed up pleas for an optional minimap from the community on Twitter, saying that in order for them to pack as much content into the game as they are for launch, a minimap would not be feasible since they are not simple to make from scratch, and they feel they are happy with where the manpower that could have been dedicated to that ended up instead. They also elaborated a bit on Echo 4. Not only are they our personal quest MacGuffin tool and navigational device, but they also can provide on-the-fly SDU upgrades and serve as a loot dispensary for quests. Not sure if this doubles for a lost loot machine, but they made a tasteful joke about them being a substitute for your quest loot if you don't want to talk to Lilith for the 100th time. So not entirely explained, but it does sound good from what we're hearing so far. Also, Echo 4 will be fully customizable. They got into gear here, and there was a lot they talked about. First off, these are all of our manufacturers and parts-only manufacturers. I'm sad Doll isn't shown here because they had a massive glow-up in BL3 and was honestly my favorite brand in that game. They did say that it's not impossible for Doll to make an appearance later. Not sure if that means in future expansions or just future games years down the line. But they did also mention that Echo 4 is made by the Doll Company. They also confirmed that the part system allows any gun to inherit any company's signature trait as well, and used a Torg weapon with a Jacobs part inheriting the signature Jacobs ricochet with Torg rockets as an example of this. I think this is crazy, and it's going to do a lot of heavy lifting to make guns feel unique and strong, even when they aren't legendary. Speaking of epic, so epic guns, purple guns, are going to have the largest amount of unique manufacturer parts on them at 5, and legendaries will have one less part, but come with their legendary trait. Along with these weapons genuinely being rare again, they also lowered the amount of them in the game as a whole, but assured us that each of these will be truly strong, and insinuated that there won't be any gimmick / trash legendaries in the game, but I imagine that statement won't hold much water with the community until we get our hands on the game and see for ourselves. They also addressed community speculation about crafting and modifying parts on a gun. They said that there will be no crafting or modifying parts, and parts will be purely determined by their initial drop. there is going to be quite the extensive loot chase associated with desired parts, I imagine. Next, they talk about underbarrels, saying that they aren't new to the series. Vladoff has examples of this with its taser underbarrel in Borderlands 3, but that there's going to be a strong focus on underbarrels in Borderlands 4. They used Jacob's weapons having an underbarrel knife that can be launched towards enemies and explode as an example. This also combines with other parts on your guns, and they used an example of having a TDR part on a Jacob's gun with the micro rocket knife, and when you throw it to reload, the gun will shoot the knife automatically while it's being thrown. Lots of really cool stuff being talked about here, and it seems they went all in on the guns having strong personalities. They did talk about enhancements a bit, basically saying that enhancements, which are replacing artifacts, will also fully apply to any weapon that simply has one part from the enhancement's manufacturer on it. So that's good, and it does address one of the concerns I had from the deep dive. Basically, I thought that having a loyalty mod essentially replace the artifact slot would disincentivize variety, especially on your way to endgame, but that doesn't seem to be the case, since it seems like it'll be pretty easy to achieve a part for your enhancements manufacturer on your gun, considering that you can get up to 5 unique ones on purple weapons. The other thing they all but confirmed in this section was gear sets that go by the name of firmware being present as an endgame build focus. That's the airstrike bonus thing you see on screen right now. They refused to go in depth with what they are, but Randy heavily hinted towards it being a gear set bonus. They did do a follow-up for Ordnance. For those of you that missed the deep dive, Ordnance will be where heavy weapons like rocket launchers end up. They will no longer be using a weapon slot and will have a timer similar to your action skill. We did learn a few new things here though. Grenades will also have a timer cooldown so that you can't spam them, and they said that both heavy weapons and grenades being tied to cooldowns allows them to make them much stronger and more impactful. So hopefully that lives up to the praise they're giving it, because I would be happy with a cooldown based grenade and heavy weapon if it meant they actually kill things and make a difference whenever I pull them out. They also said that grenades will also have manufacturer parts that can drastically affect their behavior. On top of that, they quickly mentioned a pretty massive addition by talking about shields and shield types. Basically, alongside normal shields that we've played with throughout the entire series, we can also get shields referred to as armor. Armor is essentially an aggressive version of a shield that prioritizes keeping you alive while you're actively fighting. They didn't elaborate, but they made it seem like it could be tied to lifesteal, and that it incentivizes the kill to heal methodology. So that could be really fun. Nothing sucks more than hiding behind cover waiting for your shield to come out if you don't have a lifesteal build online. We saw just how large the skill trees were in the first deep dive, but they also talked about build diversity a bit here, saying that each tree will also have 3 unique branches, and that 3 players all building down the same tree can have completely different builds and playstyles depending on the branch they build into. I hope there's no hyperbole there, because build crafting is the lifeblood of these games in my opinion, and as someone who likes to make and post build videos, this has me extremely excited to jump in and make a ton of unique builds. We did get to see some more of Vex here though, where they explain one of her other action skills, which allows her to summon both Reapers, which are tanky melee summons that draw aggro, and Specters, which are glass cannon ranged summons. This seems a lot less like a typical summoner build, like everyone was expecting, and more like a strategist build. And they also mentioned that there is a class mod which allows her Specters to inherit her gear stats and bonuses, so I'm much more excited about the idea of playing this version of Vex as a summoner, because typical Beastmaster / summoner builds aren't really my cup of tea. This one seems a little bit more hands-on though, so it might be up my alley. And this is the announcement we've all been waiting for. There will be dedicated drops on launch for every boss and mini-boss. This was a no-brainer. Pairing this with Moxie's Encore machine to farm bosses conveniently without needing to save quit will make the farming in this game phenomenal. They knew what we wanted to hear, and they finally said it. That covers everything you need to know about the game from the PAX event. Thank you for checking out the video. Let me know what else you guys want to hear from them before launch in the comments below. And if you're interested in seeing more Borderlands content and builds when this game finally does come out, make sure to subscribe to keep yourself updated. Hope you all have a great day. I'm Haderaxe, signing out. Peace.